Hello, welcome back to Sharks Happen. My name is Hal. I'm your host, going over shark attacks from the 1900s till present, mostly large sharks. We're going to get started. We're going to go over near Volos in Greece to Tricarian Island. This attack happened near Tricarian Island. The date was June 1st, 1963. Helga Pogl is 42 years old, and she and another woman went out for a swim. They returned from their swim shortly after 4 o'clock, came ashore, the two of them, and then Helga went back in and went for a swim by herself. She went out about, they said about 5 meters, and then she was heading back in, and when she got 3 meters from shore, so about 10 feet from shore, she was in 2.5 feet of water. 10-foot great white shark, they said it was a great white shark, came up to her, grabbed onto her. A witness had noticed it, another woman had noticed, watched it happen. She said that she just saw the water turn red and then the body be dragged off into deeper water, and that's the last they ever saw Helga. It was an attack and a predation by a great white shark. And now we're going to head over off of Vanuatu, off Malakulu Island. The date, June 22nd, 2005. Alysha Webster is 7 years old. Her and her family have just pulled into the bay in Malakulu Island, a real nice sandy bay, and they anchored up, and the family went for a swim. On shore, there's Mr. Tilson. He's a teacher on another island in the Vanuatu Islands, but he's lived there all his life, and he says that him and his family don't swim in that bay. That boats come in, they frequently come in, and they clean themselves, and then they go back to port, wherever they're going. So he says that attracts sharks. You know, they're washing all the guts and everything that they did for fishing. It's all going down in the water, and he said that attracts sharks. So he sees this family out there, off their catamaran, they're swimming, so he gets in his canoe and he paddles out and introduces himself. He says that, you know, tells the family that it's dangerous. They don't swim in the bay. They like to swim in fresh water, but he invites them to go ahead and come up and enjoy themselves on his, you know, on his land there on the beach, and enjoy the bay there and on the land. So they go up there, they take them up on it, they go up and they have their lunch, and it comes to the afternoon, and they go for another swim. They go off the bay. Now they go off of his beach, and now they're into the shallows there. They're out there swimming. There's other kids swimming out there too. So now there's the families out there, other kids from locals are out there, everybody's swimming. Once again, Mr. Tilson goes out and tells the family it's dangerous, I wouldn't be in the water. The family gets out of the water. Shortly thereafter, Alysha asks her mother, can I go and swim again? And the mother says, no, it's dangerous. Well, Alysha goes into the water anyway. The other two kids are in a canoe. They're playing around in the canoe at the same time, and a shark comes up. Alysha's in the shallows. She's right next to shore, just 3 meters from shore at the most, and the shark comes up, and the father's looking at her and can see her disappear under the water, and then she pops back up screaming. He runs to her aid, gets her. It had severed her leg and took a huge bite onto her abdomen. They think it was a tiger shark, around 10 feet. They had caught a 2.8 meter shark. Looks like a tiger shark from the picture. But they didn't say that there was any remains in there, so she was taken by a shark. There were other kids, like I said, they were out deeper swimming. They felt the shark pass them to go up the shore to get Alysha. Who knows, maybe Alysha, you know, urinated in the water. That comes up a lot in these attacks. I've seen maybe 9 or 10 of them in Baldrich's stats to where people had urinated right before they got attacked. But for whatever reason, this shark had passed up all the kids that were out deeper and came into the shore and grabbed Alysha, bit her leg off and bit her in the torso. That's an attack. We're going to put it down as an attempt to predate. We don't know what kind of shark. And now we're going to head over to Willard Beach, which is Ballito, South Africa. The date is January 31st, 1980. Shaun Wright is 24 years old. He is out surfing. He's by himself surfing, so he is out and he's past the breakers. So it seems he's at a drop off. The depth is anywhere from 2 to 5 meters, so you're talking, you know, a good 12 to 30 feet. So it seems that he's at a drop off where he's waiting on a wave. It's about 2:45 in the afternoon, and he's about 200 feet from shore. And suddenly, it says that he was looking around, he was kicking his feet to keep himself about waist high in the water. People are on the beach. There's about 5-foot swells in the water going on, and he's kicking his feet to stay about waist high in the water while keeping an eye out for the shark that he had seen earlier in the day. So yeah, I'm not laughing that he's attacked. I'm laughing that somebody had seen a shark and they're still out there sitting on a surfboard waiting to go. Like, if they see the shark first, they're going to be able to do something about it. It doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, he's sitting up on his board, and he must be kicking his feet to keep himself about waist high. When the shark attacks, it comes and hits him, bites him in the leg, and grabs both legs, actually. So it has his left leg a little bit, but it's got the right leg clamped below the knee, and lifts him up out of the water so high that he could see over those breakers and see the people on the beach. The shark's head only came out of the water, but it lifted him right up out of the water, and he could see people on the beach. And then it took him, and both of them fell into the water. So they both fall into the water. Now the shark's still clamped on his leg, and now it's doing that, it sounds like the animalistic shaking. And he is trying to pry the shark's mouth open with his hands. He's got both his hands down there trying to pry the shark's mouth open. And he can't do it. The shark shakes. And the shaking, instead of corn on the cob like we've had with some other sharks, this one, the shaking, slid his teeth down. And the shark's teeth slid down to the foot, where it ended up severing the foot at the ankle. So the back of the heel was still there, but the ankle forward gone. And once that happened, the shark just swam off, and he must have made his way to shore. There was a doctor and a nurse on shore that were able to help him, along with the person that runs the beach there. They all gave him first aid, got him in. He had to have his leg amputated below the knee, his right leg, and have his other damage sewed up. He had defensive wounds to the hand. He had laceration to the front of his left leg, and then the right leg was damaged from about mid-shin, so midway from the knee to the foot. It's damaged all the way down to the foot, to where it took the foot off. He was a drummer too, so I hope that he was able to get a nice prosthetic and be able to keep doing what he loves. And that's our story of Shaun Wright. It's an attack, not an attempt to predate. I'm starting to think that none of these attacks on surfboards have anything to do with eating, and they're all fight. They're all territorial. I've totally changed what I'm thinking on these things because of what we went over. Even though this is a 30-foot drop, still, it doesn't matter to me. These are just territorial. They want whoever's on that board out of their area, and I think that's the case every time they're hitting a board. That's our attack on Shaun Wright, an attack, not an attempt to predate, by a 10-foot great white. We're going to head over to Sinsa East Beach, which is Eastern Cape Province, South Africa. The date is July 22nd, 2011. Denver Struwig is 29 years old, and he and some friends are out doing some morning surfing. The waves are good. It says they were out. They don't say how far. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning, and Denver's attacked by a shark. He is attacked repeatedly by the shark that bites him multiple times, but it didn't bite him multiple times when it had him. It kept coming back and attacking him multiple times. And finally, another surfer headed over to help him, had one of those shark shields on. It pulsed, and they said that the shark had swam off, and they got Denver to shore. He was able to survive this attack, even though he was bitten multiple times. He had bites to his neck, to his shoulder, to his stomach, and to his legs, with a severe laceration to the leg. But it didn't remove any flesh. It didn't tear any flesh away. But it wasn't stopping. So, I don't know that this was territorial. I don't know that it was feeding. I don't know what the shark was doing. But I got to put it down as an attempt to consume. It didn't leave the area until somebody else came over. If it had swam off on its own after biting him 4 or 5 times, I would have put it down like Omar Conger, who was chewed up by a shark that took him around the top of the water and just spit him out by his buddy. But that's not the case here. I'm not sure that this shark was going to stop, so we're going to put it down as an attempt to predate. It is not a fatality, thank goodness. They were able to sew him up. It doesn't sound like it got into any organs. So he ended up quite well off for having multiple runs from a great white. They said the great white was about 2.8 meters long, so you're talking, they said it was 3 to 4 meters long on this one. So you're talking a 10 to 13 foot great white. And a board. Like I said, I usually don't think that these are out to feed. I'm not sure this one was either. This one's confusing a little bit, to be making multiple runs but not end up doing anything. But it does remind me a little bit of David Lilienfeld, who was sitting on his board and it attacked from the bottom, and then this shark took 2 runs at him without hitting him, and then took that final run and took his leg off at the hip and just let the leg and his body float around while it swam around the area. So I don't know. Maybe it's like that shark. Maybe it's that same shark. Who knows? So that's our story of Denver Struwig. Attack, not on predation. Okay, now we're going to head over off of the coast of Kangaroo Island, off the southwest coast of Kangaroo Island, which is in South Australia. The date is September 24th, 2005. Josh Berris is 26 years old, and he and some friends are out doing some surfing. It's just after noon. They're about 100 feet from shore. They're all sitting on their boards. Josh is sitting on his board waiting on a wave, and he's attacked. He's hit from the bottom, and he's hit in the leg. So he's bitten in the leg, but it doesn't sound like it knocked him off his board. They said that the shark went around to the other side of his board, and he was right next to the board and brought his head up out of the water, but Josh was able to push the shark by the head to push it away. And after that, the shark grabbed the board. So his friend said that, you know, the shark came, it bit him, it went around to the other side, it went ahead to bite him, and Josh was able to push it away. He says then it just had its way with the board. It grabbed the board, started thrashing around, and then started swimming through the water with it. Josh's leash is still attached, so he's being dragged through the water. He gets out there and he's able to finally break that leash off of his leg, and the shark just takes off with the board. It just having at that board. The guy said he was having to go at the board. And then there's another gentleman, a really well-known surfer out there, sort of a legend. He came over to Josh's aid and kept him calm and explained to him everything was okay as he brought him into shore, and they ended up getting him help. 2 of his friends, though, they ended up running over to a steep cliff, and they climbed this cliff to run to go get help for him. So it doesn't sound like the best place to be surfing when you can't get help, when you have to climb up. I've had one other one, but I think that was the spear fishermen, where they had to use a helicopter to get them up the cliff. It was so high. I think that was out in California on another attack, but, you know, tough to get help when you've got to climb up a cliff to even go and tell somebody that something happened. So he survives. It's an attack, not an attempt to predate. Came back at him the second time, but that's just sounds territorial to me. And then I grabbed the board. I was all mad, grabbed the board and took off. Most of these with the surfboards are just that. They're territorial. They're hitting you, and they're hitting your board, or they're telling you to get out of the water is basically what I think they're doing. So that's our attack on Josh Berris. An attack, not a predation. Okay, now we're going to finish out our show with You Don't Hear That Every Day. We're going to head over to Sydney, Australia, to the Hawkesbury Bridge. The Hawkesbury Bridge was being built back in the 1800s, 1888. In December of 1888, Mr. Ryland was walking across the top of this bridge. Now, to explain the bridge, it's one of those little, it doesn't look very high off the water. It looks maybe 20 feet down to the water to where you get to the bottom of the bridge, and then, you know, cars can go through the bridge, and then probably another 20, 25 feet up, there's a top girder system going across it. And he was walking across, Mr. Ryland was walking across the girders at the top. So he's at the very top of this bridge, about 50 feet above the water. When he misses, his feet miss the girder, and he falls. He falls straight down into that water. And they say just about as soon as he hit that water, a huge shark came up, grabbed him. There was blood in the water, and he was never seen again. Mr. Ryland, not just a worker there, he's from Ryland and Morse, which is a subcontractor that were hired to help complete the bridge. So if not, you know, the owner or the co-founder of that company, he's a family member of one of the founders of the company. So not just any worker that fell off the bridge. It sounds like the owner of the company fell off the bridge and he was eaten by a shark. So we're gonna not mark that down. We would definitely put that down as an attack and a predation by a large shark. But this is 1800s. We only cover 1900s forward, so we figured we'd go over Mr. Ryland. That's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you'll be back in a few more days. Sorry about the delay. I had another show ready. This show was ready to go, I think, on Friday. But on Thursday, I contacted my printer and found out that he is not going to be able to handle the quantities of stuff I'm making up, so I had to scramble and I had to get this stuff ordered because I'm tired of not having my merch. So I have t-shirts and hats that are going to be made, along with some long sleeve shirts. I have them being made up right now. In about 3 weeks we should have all that. Simple, just got the logo on the front of the t-shirts. One of them's black with red and one of them's white with black. Same thing with the hats, white and black. And then there's a long sleeve shirt that has some sharks in the front, my logo in the back, and sharks happen down the arm. So we'll have that shortly, but I want you to hang in there. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you'll be back in a couple more days for a show of attacks. But if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.